Hi. Hi there. This is H. Victoria Hargrove Atkerson. I'm an author and a writer. I now have five books, five in publication today. And the fifth one was released a week or so ago. It's called Enslaved. And I want you to get a copy of it right away. It's a really great book. It was so much I can't say it was fun. It was rather torturous, but it's a good book. It turned out to be a wonderful story, and I think you're gonna love it. Now, the story itself is about an African princess who is abducted from her tribe and is kidnapped along with a member of her royal guard. Now, the book begins talking about something that I think is always most fascinating and one of the most misunderstood ideas and concepts in this country is that we came here with no culture, we came here with no intelligence, we came here with no skills. It's just the opposite because one of the reasons we were kidnapped in the first place was because we had tremendous skill. We had tremendous amount of intelligence and knowledge, which the slavers took advantage of. The plantation owners used our knowledge, our hard work, and our tired, brutal, abused bodies in order to make money for themselves. Africans had been cultivating and trading and using rice, corn, tobacco, all those things that America needed in order to make themselves successful. And they did because they used our labor, they used techniques and skills that we had in Africa. No one knew how to cultivate rice because rice was, it takes a system of locks and gates to control the influx of water into the rice fields and to let it out at a certain time of day. So those Africans had been doing that for centuries. That's why they brought us here, folks, because we had so much. And you must always remember that human life started in Africa. We are the original people. So all the tribes, all the races of the world came from Africa. All the things that we are not given credit for, we have to start acknowledging and being aware of because it's very, very important to get history corrected and talked about because that's something we have not done in this country. So let's get busy doing that. And it was one of the reasons I really wanted to write this book because slavery has always been a part of my interest. I was raised in the South in a segregated society, and one of the things that uh, always fascinated me was where did I come from? What was Africa all about? And that's something that I think many people, even today, wonder about. And very few people that I know this history. So the writing of this book was to kind of get a handle on that. And I hope you'll enjoy it because it was a tremendous amount of research and re-educating myself on Africa and our heritage and where we came from. This wonderful continent, which is the oldest continent in the world, gave birth to mankind. And it also gave birth to many, many civilizations that were centuries old. So, our history dates back 200,000 years. So, we had civilizations, we had Christianity before the rest of the world. So, missionaries did not bring that religion to us. We had that. Some of the Africans in the northeastern Africa were among the first Christians on the earth. So give us credit. We must take credit. We don't have to wait for anybody to give it to us. We must take credit for what is ours. And we came from a very rich and culturally perfect place. So I want you to help me celebrate that and enjoy. Because one of the things I wanted to show in this book was that it took a tremendous amount of determination for these people to survive going across that middle passage, for them to survive all the torture, the conditions, and the their inability to do anything. They were in chains. They were restrained. And I think there are many pictures of slavery that you may be able to find either in your library. I think I did the Black History. My Black History slideshow has some of that, but just be in touch with who we are as a people, and that's whether you black, white, green, or purple. This is world history, and this is everyone's history, and we all need to embrace it. It's a great read, and I think one of the things that we need to do is to take a look at this, and especially within the political climate we now have today in America, we definitely need to embrace books and history of our people because it's very important. So this book, I promise you, will give you a good synopsis of slavery. It will give you the attitudes, feelings, and conditions that our people had to endure. And only the strong survived because they were determined to make it. They were determined not to give up, and thank God they didn't, because we wouldn't be here today. So take a look at that great book. It's full of human suffering, but it's also full of the will to survive and the will to carve out one's own destiny, which is something our parents did for us. And I'm sure these enslaved people, their prayers were that we would overcome that situation. And we did. And we are still in the middle of a civil rights era, new phase of the civil rights era, because civil rights started back during slavery when the first captive was put in chains. That we always think of civil rights being in its 50s and 60s, but it started in Africa. Civil rights started then, and it has continued to be an issue all throughout our history, whether we were on those slave ships, we were enslaved in Africa, in Brazil, wherever, in the islands. Our history has been a constant struggle for civil rights. So never forget that. Don't let your children forget it. And we have to learn to always fight for what's ours, which is dignity, respect, freedom, and justice, okay? So pick up a copy of my book and enjoy this experience. I think it's one you'll always remember. And before you go, do me a favor and like this channel, and also subscribe so that I can continue doing this. And thanks so much for tuning in. God bless.